I welcome today's presenter, a distinguished philatelist from Slovenia, Mr. Peter Suhadolc, FRPSL, an authority in thematic philately. Mr. Suhadolc's philatelic interests are thematic philately, traditional philately, postal history, postal stationery, open philately, and picture postcards. He has exhibits in all these classes. He was the chairperson of the FIP Commission of Thematic Philately in 2016-2022 and prepared the draft of the new guidelines for the FIP Thematic Commission. Mr. Suhadolc has served 12 times as FIP juror, of which 6 times as team leader. Also appointed as a jury in other classes like Open Philately, Literature, Picture Postcards, and One Frame. He is FIP Jury Academy trainer and acted as a jury secretary at various exhibitions. Currently, he is the FIP Port Director for Europe and co-responsible for the FIP Jury Academy. He is the co-editor of the FIP journal Flash, responsible for the Thematic Philately Commission and for the Open Philately Commission. He has published about 50 articles in Nova Philatelia, official journal of the FZF, out of which about 15 are research ones, also published about 35 articles in other journals, out of which 10 are research one. I request Peter to take us through the presentation. Over to you, Mr. Suhadolc.
Thank you, everybody. Not to lose any time, I will just start my screen and my presentation. Let's see. Can you see it?
Perfect.
Okay, so sorry. I will talk about exhibiting techniques in thematic philately, and I will be concentrating mainly to the achievements. That means what it means to go beyond the Vermeil medal, since we are a masterclass. Anyway, I'll review briefly also the basics of thematic philately. So thematic exhibit has two essential properties. First, and most important, it describes a story. And the story is illustrated with appropriate philatelic material and its postal aspects. So what it means describes a story. What story? Any theme that the exhibitor is familiar with, his profession, his hobbies, his interests, is appropriate as long as it is presented in an innovative and creative story. Now, story means, let's take birds for an example. Thematically, the storyline should cover the origin of birds, their anatomy, physiology, their reproduction, their habitat, the food sources, their predatory nature, if the case, their life, the environmental impacts of a bird or bird group. That means thematic is not like a topical approach. In a topical approach, you will just show as many philatelic items as possible depicting the image of a particular bird or bird group. In thematic, we are more general. We describe a story, so we can use material which does not only depict birds, but as you have seen above, much more. So the second point is the story is illustrated with appropriate philatelic material in its postal aspects. What does this mean? A thematic exhibit uses all kinds of philatelic material in its postal aspects. The guidelines say, and the appropriate material is that which for the purpose of transmitting mail or other postal communications has been issued, intended for issue, or produced in the preparation for issue, used or treated as valid for postage by governmental or other commissioned or empowered authorities. So let's always, when we have the question, is this appropriate material or not, refer to these guidelines. Was it issued by the post for the purpose of transmitting mail? So in thematic philately also, there should be as much variety as possible within the whole exhibit and on the single sheet, in the type of material, stamps, cancellations, covers, proofs, and so on. In spatial, that means material from all over the world, whenever possible, of course, and temporal, material from all periods, from pre-philately to modern philately. But the pillars in thematic philately, as already stated by Jonas Hellström, are the traditional philately, the postal history, and the postal stationery. So when we look at non-postal aspects of philatelic material, we can think about postal stationery with added private print, so-called replicages, the illustrations on FDCs. Most of the revenues, some exceptions we'll see, are allowed. Private decorations on cover and cards, pictures, postcards, unless they are postal stationery, private vignettes, area philatelic and so on, all kinds of private vignettes, private additional cancellations, content of letters or postcards. Both texts and drawings are not to be used in thematic philately. And non-postal administrative marks and addresses that do not imply the privilege of free postage. So now the new guidelines of the Thematic Commission, which has been approved in Indonesia 2022, divide this material which should not be used in thematics into two groups. One group is called A group, that means never to be used, like fantasy issues from non-existent postal territories, issues of exiled governments, issues of organizations without postal services, and abusive, illegal, and undesirable issues as defined by UPU. Picture postcards that I said, privately printed or manuscript annotated military postcards and letter cards, the so-called veldposts. Now, these are not to be used. Now, there is a B group, and I'll just read it briefly, like private additional cancellations and cachettes applied by a sender or supplier before mailing the documents. Private additional prints, that means the replicage. Administrative marks which are not postal, private decorations and decorative overprints on envelopes and cards, and private vignettes, that means advertising labels. These exceptionally, I repeat, exceptionally, are permitted to be shown. And the exception means that they can be shown where no postal philatelic material for important aspects of the theme exists. And they present a significant thematic connection, and you have to support in the philatelic description of the item by a thorough philatelic justification. Okay, so they can be used now, but with these caveats. Example, print on the left, Skopje, date and hour. That's the date and hour of the Skopje earthquake. This is a private print and should not have been used. And of course, also today with the new guidelines, I do not recommend to use it because you can find other items for this. Or for example, private prints on cards, envelopes, Agfa, Engelbert, tires, and so on. These are all private things, so do not use them. Maybe this is from an example from India. This is a replicage, that means on an Indian postal card, it was private overprint. And the private overprint tells about a product that kills white ants. White ants were terrible in Africa because they were eating all the crossroads of the railways. So this is the only material which can be fight about white ants. So if you say that, it's okay to use it. Items that should not be used in a thematic exhibit are like the French gravures made for collectors, the deluxe proofs made for collectors, or Belgian souvenirs, and any item like that that is made by the post, but not for the purpose of transmitting mail. It's made for collectors. Now, everybody says rules in thematic philately, there are too many. We can boil them down to 3 or maybe 5. In fact, as I told, the important is the story. That means the story should be the exhibitor's innovative approach and work. The choice of material, and this has 3 criteria. The philatelic criteria, that means postal aspects of philatelic material. The choice with thematic criteria, that means they have to have a link to the theme or to the development or to the story I'm telling. And then the material, of course, should be varied as much as possible. We talked about that, of quality, and of course, possibly of rarity. The last one is the presentation of the exhibit. This is common to all classes in FIP. The exhibit should be nice looking, clearly presentable, nicely arranged, of course, understandable. Okay, few words about the new thematic guidelines. We have to help the exhibitor and of course the jury. We have boiled down the criteria that we subdivide them in 2. The basic requirements, and when all the basic requirements are fulfilled, you are on the level, your exhibit is on the level of a Vermeil medal. That means 80% of the maximum. If you have achievements, that means you really do in a better way, and we will go through these achievements later on. I mean, then you gradually improve your exhibit. You go to large Vermeil, you can go to gold or large gold. Treatment is composed of title, plan, and development. We'll talk about the title, that's easy. The storyline, which should be presented as a plan, and then this is what you promise, and then the plan and the storyline that you present should be developed along all your sheets, and you should follow the storyline as presented in the plan through the whole exhibit. Now, title. Okay, any title, any theme is possible, but the title should be somehow innovative and eye-catching. For example, invitation to dinner, if you talk about food, or symmetry, or hands, or so on. If the theme is too wide, it's difficult to prepare an original exhibit. So please narrow the theme, either spatially or temporally, or by just taking a sub-theme. You don't talk about archaeology too much. Just say maybe archaeological jewels of Egypt, okay? So you restrict in time, in space, and you talk about jewels, so only the main things. Olympic Games, please do not take that title. Take a part of the Olympic Games, the preparation, or maybe some parts of the athletics, like runs, throws, and jumps. Innovative titles, examples, rubbish in daily life, or the history of taste, just 2 examples very rapidly. Plan, and this is very important. The plan should be efficient and well structured. The basic requirements, of course, is the present of the introductory page the consistency between plan and title. The plan should be efficient to understand the structure, so adequate, and it should cover all main aspects necessary to develop the theme. This is, if all of them are, let's say, taken into account, you have a Vermeil medal. Further requirement is that the structure is correct, logical, and balanced, and the guidelines say to the degree to which a story is told, and not a list of various aspects like in topical philately. Yeah. Just an example I made up of a very bad plan, an enumeration which is unbalanced, is not logical. It has all possible mistakes. That means, just for example, mountains on Antarctica, mountain expeditions. Yeah, mountain expeditions were done in Asia, in North America, and so on. Okay, so very bad plan. Tell a story. I just put, for example, I have two examples. One is my exhibit, and it's the exhibit telling the history of mountaineering. So how from the man's first Tibet approaches into the realm of mountains, you then go on to the birth and development of world mountaineering and to its mature phase at the top of the world and looking beyond. So the three parts are themselves a story, but the chapters, main chapters, tell again a story. And that's the important thing. So reading this, you understand what you will be looking at, and then it's easy. All the chapters should be numbered, and then we will see that these should be on the sheets, so that it's easy to follow your story throughout the exhibit. At another example, The Maori Pigeon by Damien Lege. It's again a very nice short story. This is a one-frame exhibit, and it's so clear that it's very easy to follow, and the story is there. Okay, I'll go quickly through this. The development, very important. That means the development is about arranging of the material fully compliant with the plan. And this enables a skillful selection of each item and its correct positioning and sequence on the page. And the guidelines say there should be a continuous story, okay? An easy to follow development. Each page should have at the top the numbered chapter or subchapter, okay? So it's easy to follow the story. And maybe an additional page title or brief summary of the content of the page. It's important that items, that items should be placed near the thematic text related to them, not at the top, in the middle, or at the bottom of the sheet, near the item that illustrates that particular thematic text. So for development, okay, I'll skip the basic requirements, but the achievements are the perfect connection between the items and the thematic text, and the depth shown by links, cross correlations, structures, causes, and effects that make your exhibit interesting and not boring. An example of cross correlation. If you're talking about the development of toads, okay, their development depends on the availability of food, but of course also on the number of enemies. If the food is scarce and the enemies are a lot, the toads are not developing well, and so on. So the storyline that you are telling should go across the pages like in a book. The storyline, you should read from top to bottom, from left to right, okay, through the page and through all the pages. An example from my, I'm clicking See, this is a one sheet, and it has 3.2 subsistent motivations, okay? This is not part of the chapter. This is a subchapter. I don't have the subchapters in the plan. I do have on the pages, okay? So it's easy to follow them. And to the right, you have a small paragraph that is summarizing what you will see in the page. So we are talking about the struggle for food that led people to adventure into the mountain area. And the storyline reads, poor men to survive were forced to become poachers, okay? Or smugglers. And they hunted chamois bucks in the steep mountain walls. And from such experiences, the legends of the gold horn arose, okay? And during summer, cattle was brought up high into the mountain pastures, and the shepherds brought their dairy products down and maybe grass. So it all follows the reasons for food and for sustenance that led man to the mountain. To the left is a page where the development is not so good. That means mountaineering first steps. Okay, we say two mountaineers, climbers climbed the mountain Jungfrau in Switzerland. And that's all the thematic text. And then I have a lot of items related to Jungfrau. But see, if I interchange these items, nothing changes in the development. So that means the items are not well linked to the text. And if you change them, you shuffle them around, nothing changes. We have said that it's important that each item illustrate a particular thematic text, okay? The same on the right side. Again, here I have all thematic text on top. I have put some, let's say, text that says this is the Flexenstrasse. Okay, but what is this related? So you have to go back on top and say, okay, roads were built through the Alps and so on. No good. Now let's go to the right. This is how you should do it. So during most of the, in this period, most of the roads over mountain passes are built, road building. And harsh terrain involved also the building of many bridges, okay? Public transport, coaches, and later buses allows a rapid access to mountains. Again, mountains can be, roads can be closed due to bad weather and so on and so on. So again, you see that the thematic text is well linked and illustrated by the related item. This is good development. Now let's go to thematic knowledge. The further, well, I should say achievements, sorry for that, is that not only the correct thematic use of the material is provided, and the text is concise and everything, but you should have the presence of new thematic findings for the theme that maybe others have not done it or found, and use the material which has a thematic qualification which is not immediately obvious and needs to be discovered by the exhibitor. And we'll see some examples about that. So this is the achievements to go beyond. So thematic text. To the left, no or just few thematic text, no storyline. Contrary on the right, too much text. Remember, the exhibit is not a manuscript, is not a book, is not a handbook. Your exhibit should show primarily nice philatelic, postally appropriate philatelic items. And the text should connect them, but should be concise and short. This again, it distracts the text, distracts from the attention to the items. And it gives a lot of details which are not illustrated by the shown items. Now, the thematic information of the item can be various. It can be a direct thematic information. What means? Zeus, okay, I have a stamp picturing Zeus. Or the Muses, the goddesses on the Parnassus mountain. So this is direct information. Then you have indirect information or surprising material. For example, you refer to postal history. Olympus, what has this to be done? And this is from the Olympus Indian territories. Okay, so it's part of the postal history of the US. Or you describe the mountain Etna with a ship letter. This cover was sent by steamer Etna from New York to France through UK. So, and you have, of course, then to write about this, to explain, okay, the cover and the routes and rates as is done in postal history. Indirect thematic information. For example, I use these 3 stamps, which were not issued by Norway in 1914, for climatic changes. Why? Okay, this mountain, as glitter tint, was the highest Norway mountain, but it was covered by a thick cap of snow. Now, due to global warming, the snow has melted, and now the mountain is only the 2nd highest in Norway. Or for example, you see a bicycle here and here at Ted Besh with bicycles, and you see what has this to do with mountaineering. Okay, I'm telling the story of Franz and Tony Schmidt, who climbed the northern face of Matterhorn, and they arrived from Munich to Zermatt on their bicycles. Surprising thematic information is in mountaineering is, for example, this, which is a Stammkarte, that means records the machine cancellations. It's about insurance. And what? Why? Okay, when you're venturing into the high mountain world, 8,000ers, you better insure your life. Or, of course, the best defense against accidents is your own caution. And this is a German word, eigene Vorsicht, for own caution. And altitude, of course, you have to have a strong heart. Otherwise, the scarceness of oxygen can damage your brain. So you can see that all these items have nothing to do with mountains. They're not depicting mountains, but they are telling us the story of venturing into the very high mountains. Avoid errors. Okay, this is an example I discovered. It's a Slovenia block. But the author says, okay, this Neanderthal flute was discovered in Deutschland, in Germany. It's nonsense. It was discovered in Slovenia. I mean, so every thematic description you put, please double and triple check it that it is correct. Other surprising information, for example, I use this badly in bad condition cover, which was torn because of the machine, automatic machine sorting. And then there is a cachet saying parvenu en mauvais état, that means arrived in bad conditions. And I'm using that to illustrate the story of Doug Scott, who climbed a mountain, and then on the way down, he broke his legs and he broke his ankles and came down to the base camp in very bad conditions. Or I use a ballon monté. So what has this to do? I am talking about the first measurements, scientific measurements made in France with the barometer named by Torricelli. And Torricelli was the name of this balloon through which this cover was sent. You can use a silk pieces, items made of silk to illustrate the Silk Route, which crossed very many mountains going from China to Europe. Or you can have prints on banknote paper. If you, for example, use that, or I use it because it depicts the Triglav mountain, the highest mountain in Slovenia, below the legs of these slaves, which were among the first Slovene stamps for the liberation after the First World War. Or you can use thematic perforation to illustrate steep walls and gentle slopes on the mountains. And I say that the gentle slope like this perforation, okay, it's not steep, but it does not require to have a good balance to access the mountains as a steep slope. And then, okay, I have to go on. These are Swiss hotel stamps, indirect information, postal services functions that have a thematic significance. Because in Switzerland, between 64 and 83, 1864 and 83, the hotel stamps were put on the covers so that they were brought, they paid the transit to the nearest postal office from where the card then was mailed. Philatelic knowledge, very important, and take care about that, because usually people have good thematic knowledge, but the philatelic knowledge is relatively low many times. So the basic requirements, of course, we talked about the material, which must be appropriate postal philately material. And the postal documents, okay, should be of real philatelic significance, better than borderline items. Philatelic stacks appropriate, good range of postal philatelic material. Now the achievements are the presence of the widest possible range of postal philatelic material and its balanced use. Please note its balanced use. That means you do not show just die proofs and die proofs and die proofs throughout the exhibit. It's not balanced. You should use die proof, several die proofs, of course, there are different types of die proofs, a variety, but not only one type, or on one single page, the same 3 or 4 machine cancellations or meter marks cancellations. It's it's not nice. And what is important, your exhibit should have a presence of philatelic studies and related skillful use of important philatelic material. Okay, and these you use studies and skillful use of important philatelic material when it's really important and you want to attract the attention of the not only of the judge but also of the public looking at your exhibit. Okay, variety of philatelic material. Okay, you have one stamp. Okay, no, 2, 3 stamps, let's say. You have a proof. You have an advertising stationery. You have machine cancellations. You have a booklet, the block, and so on. Here, try to use postal history items. I have talked about these examples already. For example, use postal stationery. Postal stationery is very good because it's big, it has space, but of course try to use the one which is significant for your story, and of course which is rare. And if it's rare, like these ones, which are this is the issued card of Sweden, okay, 1929. These are color proofs with the tentative denomination of 10 euro for domestic traffic or for domestic postage. And then it was decided to have 15 euro for the international mail. So the small philatelic study, you enhance some important stamps with die proofs, important varieties. For example, here I describe the ascent to the Triglav mountain in Slovenia. It was in 1776. Okay, so it's important that you attract the attention to this. And you do this by using a small philatelic study. Or you can have a better philatelic study. We're talking about the conquest of Everest in India, India-China border. And you do that, of course, by covers, by postal history, but you do that also by a philatelic study, showing essays in different colors of the stamp issued, or the error in color for the some stamps and so on. Of course, here you can see the clouds, and some items have not clouds on the bottom. So this is a nice error, but this tells you that with this study, you keep the visitor, you keep the judge saying, wow, look at this, it's so interesting. Now, the skillful thematic use of philatelic elements. How much time do I have? It's another quarter of an hour. Skillful use, for example, I have this composite proof. I'm describing dangers in the mountains, and one danger is going into the mist when you don't see everything. If you are, and it was my experience also, being on a glacier in the midst of the mist, you don't see anything, all white. So you can just imagine the mountains that are beyond the glacier where you have to go. This is another example, okay? A shifted vertical perforation, and you have a series of holes, can you see? And I use this to describe that by ascending this Fitzroy in Argentina, the Terray and Magnone who went up there had to drill holes one after the other and put pythons one after the other in these holes. One caution, caveat, please avoid as much as possible, with some exceptions, to overlap stamps. Of course, nobody does that, but do not overlap postal stationery. Do not overlap proofs or sketches. They should be shown in their entirety. Okay, I'll just give you some examples. Okay, postal history item overlapping postal stationery. No, this postal stationery is an entire, so it should be shown in its whole, as a whole. Here are some photocopies put above the item. Terrible. Or here I have 3 proofs. By the way, one is a deluxe proofs that should be totally avoided, but even these 2 should try not to overlap them. They should be shown in their entirety. Okay, you can overlap, of course, for example, postal stationery, when you talk about a detail like this imprint here, and there are varieties of imprint, then it's fine. Few words about the rarity. Now, rarity depends on the difficulty to achieve an item, and that means availability of the item. But it depends also on the general demand for this item in philately, that's called importance. Now, this concept of importance is not really in the guidelines, but it's very important, if I can use this word again, because items which, despite being very rare, have no or insufficient relationship to the theme should not be included. Also, the borderline, you know, these case B items, according to the new guidelines, even if very rare, they do not count in the evaluation of rarity. Now, what means importance? Very quickly, I can have an extremely rare item. What is that item? Well, that's a postcard which was sent to me on that day from Egypt, and it was the only card sent to me on that day from Egypt. It's a world rarity, of course, but it's no importance because nobody wants that item except maybe you. So general importance then is the significance for philately in general or for postal services. So it's a world, let's say, importance level. That means the key items are of world importance. Now, not every theme allows for that. We'll see an example. The specific importance is very significant for thematic philately, since the important items and specific important items are those which are the key items of a subject. We know of some key items. We'll go and have a look. So just to be quick. Okay, general importance. Okay, first stamp of Western Australia. Okay, printed locally. Only few examples in private hands. This is, of course, a die proof, which is every traditional collector of Australia would like to have it. Now, specific importance is the, let's say, the items which are important for a specific theme. For example, scouting exhibits, you have a Baden-Powell, the Mafeking issues with a Baden-Powell illustrated on cover. That's a specific importance for a scouting exhibit. And a judge will go through and says, you have it, you don't have it, you have a few, or you have the good examples, and so on. Or for bicycle, for example, this is the Fresno vignette, but this was officially approved for some time for the bicycle route between San Francisco and Fresno. So this was authorized by the Post, and this is one of the key issues for bicycle exhibits. Now, for military themes, for example, a map, and this is a map where Latvian stamps printed on the back of a military map. And this, if you talk, for example, about military themes or even about mountaineering, since mountains are depicted on these maps, it's a key item. Now, the importance of philatelic material, be careful, differs. Of course, stamps is the material which is the most commonly available. You can buy the stamps. Okay, there could be, and we all know several stamps which are unique, but in general, for your theme, you can get as many stamps as you wish. It's more difficult to get postal stationery than booklets. So nowadays, there are catalogs for postal stationery that you can use, but they are not very, let's say, popular. So you have to go and research them. Still more difficult are the thematic cancellations or the telegrams or frankings, multiple frankings with the same thematically used stamp. Then more difficult and more significant, more important, let's say, are the artist's sketches, artwork, and examples of the printing process, let's say die proofs and color proofs and so on. And the most difficult, of course, is to find something that fits your story from postal history. Now, for proofs and essays, there is also their significance or status or importance is differs. Of course, a world status is the essays and proofs for the most classic stamps. We have seen an example before. Very high importance is accepted drawings and essays, unissued stamps by a postal authority, die proofs for controlling the engraving process. Moderate importance, rejected stamp drawings or color and plate proofs in the production process, presentation sheets, cards for asking final approval, okay? And then lesser importance for a very good let's say, exhibit, you tend not to have too many of these in your exhibit. Preliminary drawings of accepted designs, presentation issues that includes artist die proofs or color proofs for philatelist or modern color separations. It's okay, but it's of lesser importance as regards rarity. Of no importance are the preliminary drawings of rejected designs, or imperforated stamps from French countries, or modern specimen stamps, or photographic archive material. Now, when looking at your exhibit, the judges will be looking for rarities of general importance if they are available for the theme, or the rarities of specific importance for the theme if they are known to exist. And they will just think how easy it is to duplicate the exhibit. It's easy, it's not easy. Oh, half of it's easy, but half of it's not, so or something like that. And judges will be looking throughout spot checking through your exhibit for scarce and uncommon items, particularly from the pillars, as I say, of thematic philately. Now, the achievements, of course, has presence of rare and very scarce items, as many, of course, as possible. One quick word about presentation. Clarity of display. Presentation is the same, essentially. Guidelines should be the same through all classes. Clarity of display, clarity of text, overall aesthetic balance of the exhibit. Okay. Some hints: use white or very light colored paper, not strongly colored paper. Do not use black Howitts, use the transparent ones. Do not frame the page, because you limit the available area for your exhibit. Do not overcrowd the page. Don't use every single small piece of white to put an item there. It will be looking terribly. On the other hand, of course, you do not want to have too many white spaces unless you want to attract the attention of the juror or customer that comes to look at your exhibit, and the white space around an exhibit catches the eye because that item is rare. Okay, so use blank space only for highlighting rarities. And all pages should have the same template, same paper, same type of wording, same type of presentation, and so on. And I finish this seminar by showing you some examples of improvements in the evolution of my exhibit. In Seoul 2014, I got the first gold by using larger square sheets, because I had a lot of material which is quite big, and it will not fit an A4 sheet. So this also allows a better development. The storyline can be easily written. And of course, put in more scarce and rare material. Now, this is a page I had before. It's not very nice looking, a lot of white space, 4 stamps and 2 more or less common postal stationery. So I improved it. First, by finding a postal history item, again on the Caucasus, and then finding a stage die proof of a Czech stamp. And this page now looks much better. I still have 2 stationery, but they're different colors, so not like before. So it looks much better. I'm talking about national parks that should preserve the mountain environment. And again, the development here is not good. But of course, I tried to put a lot of different stamps and common material in it. So you find, again, a die proof of a stamp, and you put some white space around. This is the issued stamp, and it still seems and looks much better, and the development is also a little bit better. This again, I use this cover for a glacier to describe glaciers. And this is just the normal postal stationery of Soviet Union, normal stamps and so on. So I was happy to find these. I talked about this before, and I use them because this is the Kebnekaise, the highest mountain in Sweden, and it was accessed going through a glacier. Okay, and then you have another photo essay that's nice from the Falkland Islands, and the photo essay was with the King Edward portrait, and then it was issued with the King George because the new king was in effect. Okay, this is not bad, but still too many stamps. A very nice stage die proof, but two, you see up here, meter mark and machine cancellations, normal stamps. So I was able to find a die proof of the 1933 Chamonix Mont Blanc French stamp, and I rearranged the things. Now it's more balanced. I also found a nice cancellation, so looks better. Here also a very weak page, essentially stamps, a few cancellations, and the postal stationery. And now I found a postal stationery on the Matterhorn, which I used a very small stamp here to illustrate it. Now here you can see it much better. This was issued for the Zurich flight meeting in 27. And I found, and it's not easy, I must tell you, to find an example of used postal stationery. This is a modern postal stationery, but you can find these as many as you want. Try to find a really mailed one. Very difficult. Again, here you can see that you have more or less common material. I have only one variety and one hotel stamp. This postal stationery is not nice looking. I didn't have another one, but it's stained, and this is also very, very common. So again, try to find stage die proofs. And this is first, second, and third final stage of this stamp. And I have not found a nice used material for this postal stationery, but I prefer to use a white wine and not badly looking example. Okay, here is an extra sheet where I discuss about these. We talked about it, and I showed this example of hotel post stamps. So I'm talking about hotel post stamps all around here, and it's more attractive. And at the end, okay, what about going through large goals? Okay, well, the only one of the of the hints I can give you is, of course, it's very easy. Enhance existing rarities, but that means enhance. You say made them more attractive. For example, here I have a very good, nice rarity, which is this Mull-ready advertising. And there are only 9 examples known of used. And I have windowed it, and that's narrow. And here I have, let's say, a very common Soviet era postal stationery. So I will just take this away, show this in its entirety, and that will make the page more attractive, maybe even take away a few stamps. Here again, this is too modern, too eye-catching, so eliminate that. And see, this is old type of material. This is postal history. This is Geusern, which means the German word for these mountain boots. Okay, so that's very nice. This is another nice example, but this is too modern and too much eye-catching. So it's not good for a large gold exhibit. So with this, I would like to thank you for your attention. I hope to have given you some hints on how do and let's say to expand and to enrich your exhibit, both not only in rarities, but in development, in presentations, in finding new, interesting, and surprising material. All these will be rewarding in terms of your satisfaction and of the exhibit attaining a better medal. Thank you very much.
Peter, I want to be the first to thank you for a wonderful presentation. I just want to let you know that we had as many as 149 participants at one time.
Wow.
So that's kudos to the number of thematic exhibitors today. With that said, I will start with the questions and answers. I encourage everybody to type your questions into the chat box. And I'll start with the first question. Peter, this is for you. Can I please request everybody to mute themselves, please? So the first question is from Lee Song Leong. And he writes, my question is for thematic themes. Can I put a commercial cover that bears a company logo? Is it all allowed?
See, what I said is the allowed material is that which was issued by the post, printed by the post, or prepared for as a preparation for the issuing. The company logo is not usually printed by the post, and it's not intended for to be something for transmitting mail. So the easy answer is no, it's not good.
The next question is from Nishant Singh. He writes, as deluxe proofs are not permitted, could you please confirm if specimen stamps or postal stationery can be used?
Specimen stamps can be used, but modern specimen stamps do not add nothing in rarity. So older ones, let's say before World War II, those are much better.
The next question is from Rohit Varon. So he writes, well, I think this is more of a question for perhaps Pratisad or Virendra. He writes, I'm a 23-year-old beginner in Philately. I've opened a Philately account with the Philatelic Bureau. How should I go further? Is there anything important that I should keep in mind? So I don't know, Virendra, you or Pratisad want to answer that? Or being that it's a general question, not necessarily for Peter?
Yeah, this question is not for the Peter, it's for they can contact their Philatelic Bureau representative.
Or they can go to the local club, find a local club and ask and join a local club. That's the first thing I would say and recommend.
Great. The next question is from Rajesh Paharia. He says, looking for clarity on use of name or pre-stamp covers versus stamps.
Pre-stamp covers are okay. That's the typical of US. They are allowable, no problem. Of course, covers are bigger than stamps, so if you have one, do not use them too many, but you can use one, no problem.
The next question is from Sumitra Arya. She writes, is it okay to exhibit used covers with address or cover the receiver's address?
You can use it whole without covering the address, but it's important that when you use the cover, you don't use it for the address, but you use it for the stamps or cancellations on it. A normal cover is not good because that's easy. I would suggest to try to find a cover with a stamp which relates to your thematic text and which is a multiple franking stamp. So you use, for example, a 10-cent stamps, 10 of them to make up, let's say, a euro or a dollar. And that's correct for postage, okay? So that's very nice, and it's not easy to find, but it's very nice looking. And that's something I would recommend very much.
Next question is from Akhilesh Arka. He's actually got two questions. I'll read out the first one. It says, if today's philatelic exhibit needs to go beyond a national vermeil, the exhibit will need material of exceptional rarity, like, for example, original stamp artworks, proofs. Most of the original artworks / proofs are either housed in the government archives or are already part of the world-class exhibits. From where are new entrants expected to add such examples when none are available in the market or that they are exorbitantly priced? Please note that I'm sorry, I'll continue reading. It says, please note that from about 15 years now, no physical artwork are being created for stamps as everything is digital today.
That's correct. That's correct. That means artwork is only for stamps from the period, let's say, before 1990 or something like that. As for the availability of the material, of course, it depends on your theme and on your choosing the theme. If you choose a theme which is, you know that there are several exhibits like that, and all the good material is in those exhibits already, you will not find good material for your exhibit. So please look for a theme which has not been researched so far in World Philately, and then, or very small research, or maybe one or two exhibits which are not so good and which do not have this significantly important material. So you can do nothing if you, for example, in India, if you want another exhibit on Mahatma Gandhi, it will be very difficult to achieve a very good material, because it's mostly already in private hands, though that material which is available on the market.
Thank you. So the second part of his question is, he writes, added to the above, today's prerequisite to exhibit is that you will need to be extremely rich to reach world-class levels. As the richer you are, the stronger the rarities in your exhibit. Why can't we have FIP guidelines that just give importance to the plan, development, presentation, and to some degree rarity?
Well, of course, I mean, you don't have to be extremely rich to attain gold or large gold. I myself am not an extremely rich person, but I have invested in my material, philatelic material, for 40 years. So slowly I build it up, and that's the way to do it. Now, to leave out rarity, of course, it's something that it will be difficult. You will have to have a totally different class, and it will look like a pariah class, you know. But that's okay. I mean, thematic philately is not only a thing that you want to pursue to achieve a gold or large gold. You can live happily with a vermeil or with a large vermeil if you are happy and you have fun in making up your exhibit and developing it, and with the material you can find, and that's perfectly fine. It's not just try to get gold. Forget it. I mean, not everybody of us will attain a championship class or attain, let's say, a Grand Prix. So leave it then for the so-called extremely rich people, and have fun with your own possibilities.
Thank you very much, Peter. With that, I will have to end the current Q&A session and I must apologize to everybody that's waiting to hear Peter McCann's talk. Thank you very much. And the rest of the questions will be answered directly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for your insightful and impressive presentation. This is a small token of appreciation from Philately Congress of India to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I see it. Thank you.
Thank you.